Well Read Baddies. Welcome back to another episode of She Well Read. I'm Alana.
And I'm Samra.
And today we have another guest episode. But before we get into that, shout out corner. Be sure to follow us everywhere at She Well Read. Also, don't forget to join the Patreon. And by the time this episode is up, I think our giveaway will be live, which basically, if you join our Patreon at any level, you'll be entered into the giveaway. We're giving away a Be Rooted book lover set. And we're also giving away a $25 gift card to Amazon in that prize pack. So be sure to go check out our Instagram for all the rules and all the things and when it ends. And yeah, I think that's it. You got anything to shout out?
Ooh. No, I don't think so. It's been a while.
I know. We're like shaking it all off.
The dust. Yeah.
Figurative dust.
Yeah. I feel shy.
I know. I'm like, anywho, but let's get into our guest episode today. We have it. There's More to the Story podcast hosts Bre and Madi. Welcome, Bre. Welcome, Madi. Thanks for being on the show today.
Hi, thank you for having us.
Oh,
we said that at the same time.
That was
bestie thing. I feel like what happens when you host a show with somebody, you just you love to see it. Okay, so tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us about your show and how you guys got started.
Okay, well, we met in college, our freshman year. She was pretty much the first college friend that I had, I think, because I was a commuter, so I didn't know many people, so I was trying to go to all these clubs. So we both liked the show Supernatural at the time, and so they had like a Supernatural club on campus. So we went there and we sat next to each other, and I was like, I don't have any friends, so you're gonna be my bestie. And she's like, okay.
I love the honesty.
I know, like, hey, so sorry, you decided to sit next to me tonight, and there's no way you could have known that this was about.
I was like, you are locked in now. And she invited me back to her dorm to watch American Horror Story, and we have been watching stuff together and talking about it ever since.
What? Right. Wow.
Beautiful. That's like the perfect reason to start a podcast.
Doing stuff like you were already doing it and you're just continuing it, and like now it's a show. That's so awesome. That's really cool.
Yeah.
So what got you guys into like podcasting? Like what was like y'all's, we should turn this into a podcast moment?
It was like half of a joke when we first started talking about it. And then I was getting ready to move away to Virginia. We used to be in Ohio together, and I was like, we should just do a podcast. Let's do it for real. And then it went from joking to serious, and now we're here.
Wow.
Yeah, it went from like, well, the problem is we kept talking about it when we hung out with our friends, and our friends were like, we are begging, start a YouTube show, start a pod, anywhere we do not have to hear about this is fantastic. So because we would just like sidetrack, and the two of us would just go on for hours and nobody could get a word. So they were like, you guys need to do your own thing.
Not y'all need a release.
It was just the ADHD feeding off of each other.
Yeah,
we didn't know when to shut up.
Wait, have y'all heard that TikTok sound with what's her name? Renee Rapp. That interview, she's like, ADHD.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's been like on my For You page endlessly right now. And it's just so good. It's so usable.
It's so good. I saw somebody did it about books, and I was like, yeah. They were like,
I was like, why didn't we do that? Actually, I was like, damn.
I know.
That was such a good idea.
It was a good idea. Anywho, this was also a great idea.
Dust is like, where's the dust?
Listen, I'm always a queen, okay? I can segue a bitch, you know?
That's one thing this girl.
There's one thing I can do is segue into something. Oh my goodness. So y'all remote record, and so how do y'all pick the topics that you're going to talk about on your show? Like, how is it something that y'all are both
I pick it out and tell her what we're going to do.
We joke that like this podcast was an excuse for me to just watch all the things she's been telling me to watch, and like I never do.
I am so weak.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I feel like we do that too. I'm like, you have to see this thing, or you're like, you have to listen to this thing, and then we talk
It
about
almost right, and it's like I'm locked in. Like I have accountability now.
Yeah,
like I have to do this.
or like I have to read this book now because we're talking about it on the show.
Right.
I feel like it's the same thing.
No, totally. There was something I was gonna ask. Oh, do you feel like your conversations are different now that you guys are like recording? I mean, I know that for the podcast, you've always been virtually recording, but is there a difference between when you guys are in person having these conversations, like right when it started, versus like doing it in a podcast form?
I would say yes, because I think when we make actual episodes, we don't always succeed, but we try and stay on topic and like have a like sort of a structure, you know.
Yeah.
And in real life, when like even now when like we're not recording an episode but we just want to talk about something, it's so unhinged and chaotic. It's like we talk about the thing we're meaning to talk about for like 0.2 seconds, and then somehow we're on this like bizarre other planet of other topics, and we get there so quickly. So
yeah,
I would say
yeah,
I'd say it's a bit different.
Yeah, I feel like we can all relate because it's like we're both each podcasting with our best friends. So like we had to do that too, where we were like, we have 1 hour in the studio. Like we can go off track so quickly. We had to be like, okay, we can only talk about this for 10 minutes. Then we have to move on. Like we have to literally cut each other or like give us a look. And it's like, okay, we gotta like wrap this up.
Yes. No, it's so true. It just even like trying to get work done, like you're like how are you turns into, girl, let me tell you about my whole, because I don't know, as an adult it's like I don't see you that often, so I end up like I'm really close with Lana just because, I mean, not even just because, but like this is like our weekly meet. I'm gonna talk to her, whether I wanted to or not. You know what I mean? So it's like it almost keeps the friendship so strong.
That's true.
Do you guys
on the same wave?
Yeah.
Do you guys know that TikTok sound that was just like, do you miss me when I'm not there? Would you miss me if we didn't have this podcast?
No, oh my gosh, wait, but relatable.
No, don't miss her.
I know. Like, I mean, we go on breaks, and then we're still like, it's still the same thing. Like, we still, and we hang out. Like, we intentionally hang out outside of doing podcast work too. So it's not like the only time I talk to her, the only time I see her.
But sometimes it really be bare bones. Like, sometimes it be the weekly meeting
because it's also like you said, we're adults. It's in the schedule. It's right here. It's going to happen.
Right. If I had a weekly commitment with all of my best friends, like I would talk to I would really feel more close to all my best friends.
Yeah.
It's almost like just start a podcast with that person.
Yeah, if you're looking to get closer to one of your best friends and y'all are having trouble, just start a podcast. This is your sign to do so. This is what you have to do. So how do you I already asked how do y'all pick your topics, but like when y'all are doing your topics on your show, like how do you pick what about that topic you're going to talk about? Like your themes, I guess, is what I'm asking.
I think partially, like we come in already with like an idea of what we want to talk about. We don't really talk to each other beforehand. We try to keep it like as like on the cuff as it is, just because it'd be like better reactions for it. Yeah, I think it kind of just depends on what it is that we're covering. Sometimes I have more to say, sometimes she has more to say, and then there are times where she starts talking about a thing and I'm like, I have no idea what you're saying right now, but okay.
You look like, wait, what?
Surprise!
Sometimes because I edit all our episodes, so like sometimes I will not like, I don't realize the gems that Bre has until like I play it back, and then I'm like, oh shit, like you were really spitting right there. But
no, it really do be like that. Like when I'm listening, I'm like, God damn, that's a clip for social media right there, because she just mic dropped for a second. So I get it. It's so much different. Like when you're in it, because you're like in the adrenaline of like recording an episode,
Yeah.
and then you listen back and you're like, damn, that was good though.
Yeah. I think we also like come at it with such different perspectives that you know, like we talk about this a lot, but she is a psychology student, and I was an English student, so we studied like very different but also very similar things. So when we watch something, read something, we kind of latch on to those aspects that we kind of I don't want to say are experts in, because we're by no means experts, but you know, that we're very familiar with. Whatever really piques our interest. Sometimes we don't realize how much we'll have to say about. I text Bre all the time. I'm like, I have nothing to say about this, and then we record for like 2 hours.
No, that's literally, you're like, I've got nothing, and then like the main one. It's great though. I love it. I don't know what's gonna happen.
Yes,
Fine.
someone's thoughts can make you go down the whole rabbit hole that you didn't realize. I don't know. It's kind of it is really interesting to see what like sticks out to people.
Yeah.
You know, for me and her, it's never the same. That's the same with y'all too.
Pretty much. Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And I feel like it makes for great conversation also.
I know, I love hearing. Yeah, that's what makes it like layered and textured. Yeah.
Okay, so I have another question. So your show is called There's More to the Story. Where did you get the name from? Like, what inspired the name There's More to the Story, and like how you decided this is what you were podcasting about? I mean, obviously we know that it's because y'all couldn't shut up with each other about talking about these. You made it a podcast, but like, what made you think like, okay, but this is how we're going to structure it. This is how we're going to play it. This is what the title's going to be, like all of that. Kind of like the planning, I guess, of the show.
So we actually had another title idea like before we settled on There's More to the Story. And like originally it was Argue with the Wall, and we were very like in it for that title, because we were like, yeah, we don't care about other people's opinions. What we're saying, that's it. That's
also we like playfully argue a lot, so it was you know.
But then someone else had like that podcast name, and they had literally just dropped their podcast like a few months before we were about to, and then we were like, all right, back to the drawing board. I don't actually remember if I was the one who came up with that or if she did. So
I was.
She did.
Yeah, because this is kind of a weird story. It like doesn't really have anything to do with our podcast, but when I like years ago when I was still in high school, one of my best friends gave me like this collage thing, and she had cut out words from a magazine. And one of the phrases was "There's more to the story." And I think it's, you know, because I like to read, but I always loved that phrase, like as soon as I saw it. And so when we were searching for names, it just popped into my head. And I think like we do movies and TV shows and books because we don't really want to limit ourselves. Like there's more to every story. And when we watch or read something, the first thing we want to do is like, we want to look up reactions, or we want to look up other people that have seen this. Like, what did they miss? Or what did they see that I missed? So we wanted to kind of give that to other people.
Wait, I love that.
Yeah, that's so smart to look up like what the diaspora is feeling. Like you're like putting and that's so English psychology major, y'all. Let's tap into the culture. And I do feel like y'all give great perspectives of like, when I listen to your podcast, it's not like the most basic, I guess, thoughts that would be
or like generic.
I don't know, even whitewash. Like it feels like very much representative of like everybody. And I don't know, just.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like I was listening to the Cheetah Girls episode. And
I love that.
One. Wait.
An unhinged episode.
It was very unhinged. And also, I was like, damn, I would have never, like, I'm like still in the childhood nostalgia of it all. And you're like, here's everything that was wrong with this the beloved movie that we have. Here's every problematic thing that we missed. when we were children and now are adults.
Oh shit.
That's our tagline. We ruin your childhood stuff.
Yeah.
Like I was in my car like, how dare they talk about Chanel this way? My favorite Chanel girl.
Stop. Wait, what did you say about that girl?
Look, sometimes I go into a trance when we like do these recordings and stuff, and I just let my brain like actually it doesn't go anywhere. The mouth just starts talking, and words that probably shouldn't have come out my mouth came out my mouth.
It'd be like that. It'd be like that. You know, I know that. I know that. Sometimes it's like, I don't even feel that way. My mouth just was like,
That is so Bre. She will argue with me about something, and sometimes it'll make me mad because I'm like, I know you don't think this.
Yeah.
That right there. Now we know who is who.
you also edit the show.
Yeah, maybe it's like our brains. I don't know. I don't know, but like relatable. No, but that is so awesome. Which, you know, I'm segue queen. Let's talk about this book right here, the book that we just finished, I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jeanette McCurdy. Because we have what we dissected of this book, but we're very interested to know how you guys felt about this book. What were some of the emotions you felt while reading it? What like stood out to you? What controversial opinions are accepted also? Be unhinged.
Yeah, I'd love to get what we don't like.
I'm the queen of controversial opinions, unfortunately.
Yeah, she is.
That's so you.
So weak.
So this book took me a really long time to get through, not because I feel like it was like poorly written. It was just, I feel like it was marketed. And this is part of like, I think what my problem was. It was marketed as like a sad, but ultimately hilarious story. Like she had so much humor, and I think there were moments where like I chuckled a little bit, but it was ultimately sad as fuck. Like it was the most depressing shit I've ever read in my life, and it just kept getting worse.
Yeah.
Like, you know, and I'm like, so after having finished the book, I felt so proud of her. Especially she did like her anniversary post for the book, and she was eating cake, and I was like, that
one got me too.
Yeah, but like I feel like I didn't, even though it was an important read, I didn't really enjoy it because I was just so anxious and sad.
Wow. It was very dark. Yeah.
It was really dark.
Madison doesn't really deal well with like the dark contents or whatever. Yeah. Try to balance things out for her.
Yeah, I feel like I'm unwell, so like it was like, damn, this sucks, but relatable.
Same. Yeah, no, same.
She's like, yeah.
I listened to it on audiobook actually. So like I got like Jeanette, like she does like the audio reading for you. And I feel like I like connected with it a little bit more, just like hearing her say her own story like that. And yeah, like she said, there were like some really like dark moments that were in there, but I like really appreciated how open she was about things and how like willing to like just put it all out on the table she was. And I like how at the end it's like she's still kind of, there's still more room for growth. She's still like trying to work through and accept everything that's happened to her, and it's like you can see that even like towards the end where she's at a better place than she was originally.
Yeah, no, that's so true. I feel like that's the whole book. Like that's, I feel like why when we covered it in our bite-sized way,
thank God.
Right, thank God, because
yeah, I binged it. It was rough.
I don't like even being unwell. No, I could not have binged it. I would have, like, if I would have binged this, I feel like I would have needed a week of recovery.
I know.
After reading
I'm tense just being back in this room. Like I have PTSD. This book sitting on the table. Like it was harsh. Like it was very, I agree. Like I'm glad it was honest. I'm actually like, I respect her so much for like not sugarcoating things.
Yeah.
And being real about every emotion that could be controversial, like whatever, she just said it, and I really like that. But like I said, thank God we read it bite size, or like, chapters at a time, and then talked it out, and then decompressed, and then did it again.
It felt like a mini therapy almost as we were talking through it.
For sure.
So not Bre. I'm like looking at Bre but talking to Madi. Madi, when you binged it, like when you were reading it, were you like feeling those emotions? And is that why you think like you got super, like it was just super overwhelming? But then how did you keep going? How did you not pause?
I took little breaks, but I think at first I didn't realize, like, I kept feeling anxious, and I kept feeling like I would get like in these depressive modes, but I don't think I linked the two. Like at first I didn't realize it's because, I'm reading something ultra depressing. It's been and what I will say about her memoir, it's been a really long time that I have felt this way while reading. I think it's because I primarily read fiction, so there's like a degree of separation. But this is someone that I grew up watching on the screen, and so to look at all these experiences that are happy memories for me, and for her, like the worst moments of her life, eventually I just looked up from my page and I was like, oh my God, it's this book that's like making me depressed. But I don't know, like, she's the strongest person on earth. I don't know how she got through all that, because every time, even like her boyfriend Steven, like she finally found a moment of peace, and then he's like, I think I'm Jesus. Oh my God, what?
That was what? It's like one of those things that's too crazy to have been fiction.
Right.
Because what?
I think that was my favorite like plot twist of you, if you will, of this book. Like of everything that she talked about. I was like, he thought he was what?
Because it was the only plot twist that was funny. Like everything else was so
dark. But it was like not funny, haha, funny. Ooh, like
it's really, really upsetting. And like I've been meaning to like go back and watch the iCarly, and like even her, the one the show Netflix show she was doing.
Yeah.
Even Sam and Cat, like I have like renewed interest in watching them, but at the same time, I don't want to ruin what I think my childhood self loved about the show by like seeing it in this negative light. Now knowing like the creator, like everything about all these shows is so much darker than I thought.
Yeah.
And now hearing like all the Disney stars and shit like have podcasts talking about how they were abused and like didn't want to even do this, and their mom just put them in this thing, and like just the whole industry, like it's just it's a giant ick. Yeah. And even like the strike that's happening right now, it's like I want to consume stuff, but it's like I don't know.
And it's almost like the way you talked about it, because now as us as adults, we're watching these things, but we're also seeing what's happening in the background of our favorite actors and actresses and TV shows, and the production behind it, and like all the ethical implications of that. And like you said, it makes it harder to watch and enjoy.
Like, I don't think the jokes are gonna be funny anymore. I don't think I'm gonna enjoy it.
Right. Or like, okay, have y'all watched Reba, like the show?
Oh yeah.
No.
This is why we're here.
I'm a Reba stan. I got you.
Okay, but so Reba, there was an actress on Reba, one of the daughters on the show. I'll pause so you can do that. Okay. But she had left the show for a little while, and they do that thing where they explain in the show like why they're gone or whatever, but it's like something happening in the real world, and then like and then they come back all of a sudden. So for her, like she came back and it was like a little different.
What happened?
Well, so when I became an adult, I like did some research, and she had an eating disorder, and like she had to go, I think she went to an institution or went to rehab to like get better. And then like all the pieces fell into place when I like deep dove into this. It was the what was Kira on the show. I can't think of
Not
her.
you ruining Reba for me, Kira. It's okay. After what I did to Cheetah Girls, it's payback.
It's payback.
Damn.
But it was crazy because the episode that she came back, it was like this whole thing, like she walks in, and this was the time where like there's still like a live studio audience, and so there's like this rage of applause when she like walks back on, like in the scene for the first time.
I thought it was gonna be a gas.
No,
A collective gas. Like she's back.
Oh, no.
Everybody like who's on the show is there, and they're all like, "Where you been?" And she's like, "I went to go get something to eat."
Why? Why would you do that? What kind of sick fucks are writing the plot? Are they all fucked in the head? I'm sorry.
But like, when I first watched it, obviously I'm like, okay. But then when you find out like really what's happening, you're like, damn, like the significance, the connection, it's really different. That's all I gotta say. It's different. I'm like crying laughing.
Life imitates art, or art imitate. Like I don't know which one's coming first at this point.
I don't know which is which anymore.
Because why was Sam so into food? Like that messed me up. Like why? I can't like watch the show and hear her talk about food, and like it would kill me.
I didn't even think about that. About the like her whole like, oh, I'm gonna eat a bucket of fried chicken, and like all of her things.
What's that doing to your brain?
But
if you're
then in
saying
reality,
I'm gonna you're like what? And now me thinking about manifestation of like what you speak creates life. Like it does have, like your words have meaning. I'm sure the English major can get with me here.
Yep.
Words have meaning, and for her to be talking about binging for getting paid to say this, practicing her lines, you know what I mean? Like believing these words.
Mm-hmm.
Of course she's binging in real life.
Damn.
But she doesn't want to get fat, so she is purging. So it's like, of course, it's so upsetting that like,
yeah. But I like the fact that again we went through this whole book doing this whole thing, right, and I never once thought about the fact of her character being so into like food.
I know
the very thing
that he wrote her like that, because I know his ass knew.
But did he?
I don't know if he knew, but
because
like,
she hid it for so long. If y'all were like, nobody really knew until later.
It could have just been a coincidence, but damn,
a very dark coincidence.
Like out of
I always wondered whether or not other people actually did knew and they just didn't say anything. Like how many people were just like in the background kind of just letting things happen instead of like stepping in to help her out. Like I feel like there's no way that her brothers or her dad could have like seen these things or like been around her and not done anything, like not have noticed like what was happening to her and not have done anything to help her.
Well, her mom taught it to her. So it's like to get Jeanette help, they'd have to get her mom help first, and that was not happening.
They could have also just gotten, I feel like they should have taken Jeanette away from her. Like
they were all
like her brother,
they
were, but like her brothers like moved away like entirely.
Yeah.
But you know what?
Like,
I
they
can relate
don't live near there.
I can relate to that. Being in a situation and like not like I was in a situation like theirs, but I was in a kind of similar situation where it's like I had to leave first. It's kind of that thing. It's like I have to help myself before I can help anybody else.
Yeah.
Also,
I was just gonna say, like, I kind of get that though. Like on the surface, it like, you know, when you're looking at her brothers, and it sounds kind of messed up. Of like, how could you not come back for your little sister? But at the same time, it's like once you get away from that, it's hard to make yourself go back, even if you're going back to get somebody else you love. That's hard. But I feel like that's another thing of like she struggled with at the end, romanticizing her mom. and coming to the terms like maybe because she was very protective of her even when she knew that she was like kind of fucked up. And so it kind of, I don't know, it was interesting to me because yes, we do romanticize moms a lot, but we also, like, as a culture and as just people, we're very scared about our parents not being good people. And that, like, on one hand, it's like, yes, they raise you and you can be afraid that you're going to turn out like them, but on the other hand, I think, does it matter? Like, that's the question. Like, you're agonizing over, is my mom a good person? Is my dad a good person? Because I feel like that question is like giving you permission to love them. Like, you almost feel guilty for loving your parents because you don't know if they're good people. But I feel like at the end of the day, like, I wish I could like tell her that like you can still love your mom and be like, I wouldn't necessarily trade my mom because I loved her, but also I'm glad that she's not in my life anymore for, you know, everything that she did. You can love someone and hate them too. And I feel like she struggled with that for so long, but I think it's something that a lot of people struggle with.
Yeah.
That's yes.
Were you the English major or the psychology major?
I'm
She was
the English.
It's kind of like, because that's why I was like, yeah, which one?
It's more similar than you'd think, honestly.
No, but really though, because damn, yeah, you're right. Like,
But that was such a word. Okay. Because
right.
it's like, to me, it's like the reason why we care so much about our parents being good people is like, to me, it's almost like I came from you. It's almost like you represent a part of me. And it's like, if I don't like that part of me, it's like I want to bury it. Like, I don't want to think about how it represents who I am. Like, only in my worst place do I want to think about that.
Yeah, and something that I've been like doing lately, like, is because yes, there are parts of your parents that you're like, I don't want to have anything to do with that. Like, I want no parts.
Don't talk about it. It's like, this is why I don't bring you around.
Yeah, but it's like, I like to think, okay, but I can take the best parts of them, the parts that I do like, and be like that. Like, let's focus on that part. Like, yeah, you have to like recognize the other part that you're like not so down with, but also, you know me, I'm always like two sides of the coin, I guess.
Yeah,
you could say.
I know. I mean, at the end of the day, it's like, I love you,
right?
But it's like,
but as
I'm
a person,
kind of embarrassed by you.
Yeah, because I feel like at the end of the day, a lot of people forget, and something that I'm like realizing as I've gotten older, is our parents were other people first before they had us,
which is weird.
Yeah, it's like their life didn't begin when we were born. Like, they were here living their own lives, doing like their own things, facing their own traumas, going through their own things. And a lot, especially I think in our generation, a lot of our parents didn't get to deal with things like trauma because therapy wasn't a real thing. I mean, it was a real thing, but it wasn't something that was promoted. It wasn't something like, oh, like me, like we talk about on the, in this week in therapy.
They
like,
weren't going to therapy.
They said, what?
Yeah.
Especially like, in Black communities, especially, therapy was not a thing. Like, it wasn't an option.
Yeah.
And so I feel there's also the line of like knowing that and like giving them some type of like, okay, I get it, but also it doesn't make it right.
Oh, it's so
it doesn't
hard.
make it okay.
Yeah.
And so I think it's the same for Jeanette's mom, which it's interesting that you bring up the end of the book where I'm assuming you're talking about when she goes to her mom's grave and she's like, basically the whole book, like, I'm glad you're dead. Like, I'm glad you're gone because I would still be on this eating disorder. I'd still be this person that I don't like.
Yeah.
But it's almost like her mom never got that potential redemption. But it's like you can't, because you have to take it at face value of what happened when she was here.
I know. Oh, it's hard.
It's hard. It's hard.
Any type of grace. But right. She's a human. And I mean, I'm not perfect. Life is hard. Things happen.
Ghetto.
Yeah, like, no, I don't ever want to cancel anybody, but to empathize for them,
It's hard. It can be very difficult. So was that kind of y'all's consensus as you were reading too? It's like it's really hard to like you, like with her mom and all the things.
Yeah.
She did.
Yeah, like on one hand, her you can see a lot of her like manipulation came from the grandma as well. So like
Mm.
obviously that is where she learned it. And so when your mom's kind of promoting that, it's like similar to the eating disorder thing. It's like when your mom is teaching you that, it's like you can't, that's not wrong, you know? And I also like going back to your parents are people beforehand. I think that that's really important too, because like just on an empathy side, not necessarily like obviously we're not condoning anything, but um, you know, they just kind of react. I think at this point in time, at least, like for her mom's generation, like now it's you when you become a parent, you think about, oh, everything I do is going to teach my kid something. But I feel like that was not a narrative back then. It was just like they did shit, they react to whatever was happening, and then they were like, well, your life's your life, so you go figure out that trauma I just gave you. But now, like when you become a parent, we have gentle parenting and like all this stuff to try and prevent that. Do you see what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
it's tough.
Yeah. I don't know if you guys have ever seen BoJack Horseman. She hates the show.
It's definitely
but there
one of
is
those Adult Swim shows. It's very neat.
Yeah.
I love those kinds of shows. But there's a quote that he says in like I think it's like season 4 or something, and he's just like, "My mom is dead now, and everything's worse." And he had like a very bad, like abusive kind of relationship with his mother, but knowing that she was alive, you always have that hope that like things can eventually get better. You can like continue to put them on a pedestal, or at least picture it as like a goal that you will in the future be able to obtain. But now that they're dead, it's like, where do I go from here? How am I supposed to deal with all the things that you have left me with now? There's no changing the relationship anymore. I'm just stuck with what we had, and that's kind of something hard to like move past.
But also, even like, I also don't have them. It's like the grief of it too. You know what I mean?
What we saw her go through,
Right.
like how Maddie talked about. Like she would say, "Oh yeah, this was fucked that she did," but let anybody try to tell, like anybody else say that, she's like, "How dare you?"
Oh yeah, she did have that really, really protective. She almost, to me, it was like her. Well, yeah. I just went through so many thoughts, but like my head.
Like a rush of thoughts and emotions all at
I
once.
was like one thing, and I was like, but I don't even know where I was. But
It just reminded me of like her time with Laura, her first therapist.
yeah,
Where she like, because that's what happened then.
right.
She was like,
I wanted to ask you guys, like, what was your opinions on like her first therapist versus the eating disorder specialist that
Literally
she
gonna say, can we get the resident therapy expert up in here, because that's weird, right? Was that weird?
It was definitely weird. I think part of the thing was that I'm pretty sure she was a life coach. Like it's a life coach / therapist, right? Like that was her official title.
But she
I
was
think
definitely
it was
getting
more
a
of
ticket to those award shows.
Yeah, I don't think she was actually like a licensed therapist. More of just like a life coach who was taking on that therapy title. And maybe if Jeanette was somebody else, it possibly could have worked. And there's a lot of like ethical boundaries that she definitely crossed over. But like I didn't realize that it was only just like over the course of a month that the two of them were working together. And then she was just like slamming into her, trying to get her to talk about like this trauma that she's been hiding for literal years.
yeah.
Versus like the specialist that she works with later on. He's very like detached, and he's very like, this is what we're going to do. It's going to be hard. You got to keep going. And
yeah, it was such two extremes.
Yeah, but it also could be, to Bree's point, like licensed to do this, kind of woo woo.
Yes.
Like and like I feel like with her, like you said, with her situation specifically, she needed a licensed person who knew exactly how to work with somebody who is having these difficulties.
Yeah, I feel like almost taking the emotion out of it was really good because I don't know. I feel like the eating disorder is like in a like mental emotional thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if you're just like, this is on paper, this is what we're doing. Here's a pamphlet with a bunch of facts. Like it's like, okay, like this is just like I'm doing these little checkbox steps and you don't have to think about your emotions or your, you know what I mean? You can just zone out and just get it done.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, way deeper than get it done.
Yeah. But I mean, that just even made me think about my own therapy. Like my first session, I was like, here's what it is and here's what it ain't. Like I was very open. Like I'm ready to get this shit, like not therapy over with, but like all of this baggage, all of this trauma, like I'm ready to work. And that's not what Jeanette was giving.
Yeah.
She wasn't ready.
She wasn't.
She was not ready. Yeah.
She wasn't at all.
Yeah, you can never help a person that like isn't ready to actually do the work themselves. Therapy is mostly you doing the work, and it's just somebody else that's like helping you guide along the way.
It was also the fact that she like she didn't want to go in the first place. Like her boyfriend made her go. So like,
which is so funny that he also ended up with a mental illness. I just the irony there, I just
messed up.
I feel like there is this kind of like invisible string pulling us all, like, oh, you're unwell, me too.
You find each other, like
that energy from somebody. You're like, this feels familiar. And then like, I mean, that's how they toxic bonded so hard in the end, where they kept going like back and forth, and then eventually they were like, this isn't healthy though. Like,
I know, that was good.
Yeah, I was like, thank God.
Like, there were so many levels to that relationship. They started really cute.
It was a very meet cute moment.
I loved
until he went really churchy and religious.
Yeah, it was such a strange twist.
Okay,
like, you don't need therapy if you have Jesus.
That quote right there.
You especially need therapy then.
That took me out.
I'm just like, I do kind of want to go back and read it. Not anytime soon, but like at some point, because her dry humor through the whole thing, it was just too good.
Which I'm sure when you listening to the audiobook was like on a whole nother level.
Yeah, it just really reinforced the fact that Jeanette is a funny person. And I like, she's probably not going to like get back into like the entertainment business or anything like that, but
yeah,
I mean, if she did, I watch.
Right, but I mean, she is writing another book. That's what I'm interested to know what the hell this next book is about to be about.
I'm hoping it's the screenplay.
Oh, the screenplay.
Girl, I want to bring back the screenplay that she showed her mom. I want to read it.
Right.
Drop the screenplay, Jeanette. Drop the screenplay. I'm so weak.
I'm just nosy. I just want to know. What were you saying? But like, what was it first? Her father.
Her dad.
That's not her dad.
Because well, both. You know, there's a lot to be unpacked there too. Because she kind of asked the question, why did he stay? And why did he stay? Maybe for the one kid that was his, but like,
none of them are his.
Well, one was, right?
One, yeah.
No, I thought he was saying that all of their asses weren't his.
I think it was 3 of them who weren't, and then there was one who actually was his kid.
There was 4 of them.
There is a lot to learn about.
I'm so bad with names.
And her ex-dad.
I don't need a family tree.
Yeah. They're
that
like in the back of the book.
Mess. Deborah was
love a map, love a legend.
I'm sorry.
Yes. No, like that. I don't know, but does it go back to like that whole thing of maybe he stuck around because he knew if he left, it would be like 20 times worse. Because like she wasn't working. He was the only one really working. And then like would it have been
his
like
one son? Or, I mean, I'm sure maybe he loved the other ones too.
I mean, I feel like you gotta have a certain level of love and like to put up with this woman and then all of these kids that are not yours.
I feel like I don't know. I don't know if I want to give this man that much credit. I feel like she's nice about her dad, and I don't know.
I was wondering
this happen.
I was wondering if that was the reason why he didn't put so much like effort into Jeanette, because like even young Jeanette was noticing that he didn't really care as much about her. So like I wonder if that, like him not being her dad, him knowing that, had contributed to how he interacted with her.
Yeah, I would argue that
For
definitely had something.
It made so much more sense after that.
Right.
That whole birthday card thing like hurt my heart so bad, of like, you thought he was at least doing this thing for you, and then it's like, no, mom said to do that, and he didn't even bother to write anything in it or spell your name correctly. Like,
yeah.
Damn, I forgot about the misspelled name.
Yeah, that shit. There's so many. I too want, but he's what did she call him? A potato?
Yeah.
Like, she wasn't getting much out of him of like explanation, because I'm pretty sure she asked like, why did you stay? Like, why did you go on with this ruse? Because I mean, it's not like these kids were born. Well, actually, I don't know the age differences, but I don't think they were born like back to back to back.
I feel like the older boys kind of were closer, and then she was further away.
Maybe, I don't know, but it's like repeated. It's like, okay, it's one thing you step out one time. I mean, oh gosh, you step out one time and have a kid outside of our marriage. 2 more?
And the hypocrisy from her mom to like shame Jeanette for everything, even when she wasn't even doing anything, just to be like interacting with boys, like that was definitely projected on her own guilt, because like you know that she was thinking about her own cheating self.
It's so crazy to think that they're also Mormons. Like, you were a cheater and a Mormon?
Oh yeah, I forgot
How
about
are those
that.
two things coexisting right now?
I'm so mad. This makes me so mad. Deborah is the worst. She's the worst. And I'm sorry, everybody in that house that didn't help Jeanette is the worst. Like, you are a bystander. This is literal abuse. Like,
but I feel like also they didn't. What were
they were? Yeah, they were also like,
they were also victims of the abuse. It's just Jeanette got the brunt of it.
No,
one of the brothers was also getting like the shower, like
like she had the
inspections, right?
Yeah.
I just don't see how an adult at any point didn't see her showering the like, hey, we're going into the shower.
Well, but because it was like the same dynamic with her grandpa and her grandma. Like you're saying, the adults who were in the house, like. Her mom got all of this BS from her grandma, and her grandma was so self-absorbed and like didn't really care about like all the other stuff going on. Her grandpa, like, he did speak up, but it's like he couldn't take her out because legally, like,
he could have took her ass. He could have
but then he'd have to leave his own wife. That's a whole other.
You should have.
That's what I thought. It's like you can call child protective services.
In theory, yes. But I feel like
when it's not a great, either one is not a great option.
Right, because now she's in the system. It's just all messed up. I think it's just all fucked.
I think it's interesting that he's the one that called, like, her grandfather's the one that called out the fact that Jeanette had OCD when she was younger. Like, he was the first one who noticed it and put a name to it. I'm like, how do you know what OCD is back in the day like that?
True.
Like, I feel like, was there somebody else in the family who had OCD? Did you like research this? How did you know, like, this is what she was exhibiting?
But also, and like, they also didn't have, because the grandparents lived with them because they didn't have the means to be on their own either. Like, it was all trickle down effect of all of it.
You're so right.
I feel like, and then it's fucked.
So messed up.
It's fucked. Like, that's all you can say about it. It's fucked up.
I do think it's kind of worth noting though, like, yes, especially like once the mom died, I feel like the dad like should have reached out more. But I do think it's worth noting that he didn't really want to what's the word, like unclaim his children, you know, like his new girlfriend kind of made him do that. So he wasn't going to be like, oh, these aren't my kids anymore. Like as soon as the mom, like he was going to keep being their fault. Even if he was distant, he was still going to be there.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I think it's a good decision because now Jeanette knows that she has another father that maybe we'll find out in this next book might look out for her more. But, you know, I thought it was kind of interesting that, yes, it's about the mom, but we never got to see like what happened from that meeting with like her real dad.
I think it's crazy that he knew who she was and then never like tried to reach out at all. Like even when she was of age and no longer a minor, like he didn't try to form any kind of relationship with her.
Scared of Deborah.
Yeah.
Although, how do you have a kid with that woman 3 times?
A part of me feels like the girlfriend, because you know that's like the girl that like isn't that Deborah's ex-best friend?
Like fake best friend? Yeah.
I feel like she wanted to like stick it to Deborah now that Deborah's gone and can't defend herself. Like your mom was actually a whore. And she was all over the place, and that's not your dad.
Almost like didn't
messy, but I like it.
Deborah.
She got with her ex. She got with her husband at the funeral. Tell me she's not messy. She came in there with a plan, and then she said, "And you're gonna unclaim those children because we're not taking care of them. They are not coming on our vacation."
And she did try to make it seem like she was like, "I felt like you had a right to know," but it's like there's still that messiness in it too, though.
Like, why are you even here, babe? This is embarrassing. Get the fuck out of here. Like, why are you here? This is a conversation between me and my ex-father.
If she did have positive intentions, what the fuck were you there like egging this shit on?
She wanted to see it go down. She wanted to
she wanted to make sure he went through with it.
He's a potato. He wanted to do it.
Well,
messy.
I mean, it was messy from jump.
Messy.
For sure. The whole thing was
especially, you know, the dad had like a crush on her because Deborah was always like trying to make herself look like, was her name Karen or something? Trying to make herself look like her. Yeah. So she knew that she was kind of second best. Damn, she was in the long con.
This book, I swear, like so many like little things we could dive into.
Right, I'm sure there's more.
Right, which like again, back to all 4 of us read the same book, right? And we're getting all of these different perspectives and conversations that we didn't even cover on the show. Like half the stuff y'all mentioned, I'm like, fuck, I did not think like, damn.
I didn't think about that until y'all were talking about what y'all were talking about, and I was like, nah. That girl, she did that on purpose.
Like that was the vendetta.
Yeah. It was just not necessary to have done it.
It wasn't.
Now that y'all pointed that out, I was like, oh,
yeah, it was fucked. But I still like, I feel like it was still a great book. Like, despite all of the roller coasters we had to go through in this book, it was still really good. And I'm like you, I can't watch any of the past shows because it's like I like look for those things now. I look for it. I can't just watch the show. I'm looking for those things.
I did watch an episode of iCarly actually.
The new one or the old one?
No, the old one, with Sam in it. And like every other episode, she had like fried chicken or whatever. But like what gets me also is she had to like eat that on camera, you know, and she was always like
really eating it for real.
Like she was always very careful. But so even if you're around food, like that's triggering enough. But like to have to like eat it and then like I don't know, try and go find a time to throw it up later, like that's so traumatic.
And you're having to like keep this up and having to go through trauma every single day. Like there couldn't have been a worse job for her.
And people like screaming like, Sam, like, do you have any fried chicken or whatever, and like throwing shit at her, like Oh my God.
Another level of
I would
like
be
fucked
afraid to
up.
go outside.
She was afraid to go outside.
I understand why she was drinking, totally, dude.
Right. Like in the grand scheme of things, you're like, yeah, me too.
Yeah, it's like too much to deal with.
Yeah, but like I think Maddie talked about earlier the video of her like celebrating the 2 years and like eating the cake and like it is very healing seeing stuff like that, like from the outside looking in.
It was kind of triggering for me to see it, to be honest.
Because you were still thinking like, fuck, is she gonna go purge this later?
Yes, like I was like, that's a lot of cake.
It's like you have the anxiety for her now, almost.
Like I'm like Miranda in this book. Like,
Oh yeah, like
is she okay? Checking up on her.
like peeping over your shoulder real quick.
She posted this Instagram, and I was like, she looks pale. I think it's the lighting, bro. But I'm just over here like,
because now that we know, it's like we like genuinely care. It's like, are you okay? Like, is everything okay at home? Like,
I'm triggered, but it's really bad because it honestly makes me think about Bella Hadid because she'll like come on, be like, pizza's my favorite food, and show her eating pizza, and then it's like she's actually not eating anything, but we don't know that, and we're not supposed to get into that, but it is a thing that's happening, and it's kind of misleading to be this model. Like we know how you have to be a model to do. It's just like, but you're not supposed to talk about it. But it's like there.
Yeah, but I think that's why I'm glad we're getting like, especially our generation and the generation after us. It's like, no, let's talk about it though. Like, let's discuss. Let's have a conversation real quick.
I still feel like you get attacked for talking about it.
Oh, for sure.
Like you can't talk about it freely. It has to be privately.
But I think we're getting there. Like we're inching maybe our way to like it not being like that anymore. Hopefully, maybe.
I feel like we're always like one extreme, then we're like, this is so bad, and then we go all the way over here, and then it's like, this is so bad now, and then we go, you know what I mean? It's just like we're always going too far with this shit. Yeah. So right now we're in like, don't talk about anything, and like body positivity, and like everything's great. Just smile and fake it, delusional babes. Like it's just like I don't know where we're at.
Well, I know where I'm at.
Right.
I can't relate.
I'm doing what y'all do, and like I tap into the culture. You know, I was gonna be a psychology major, so I'm always like, let me get the temperature here. Gay, where we're at as a society.
I'm so weak. Oh my goodness. Okay, well, Madi, Bre, clearly we can talk to you guys for hours about things.
There's more to the story.
Okay, segue.
Okay, what do y'all got planned for your future? What's
what's the future of y'all show? What are you reading? What are you into right now? Wrapping this episode up.
Well, for the podcast right now, for some reason we're covering a lot of like middle grade. Like we're in the middle of the Percy Jackson series because we're preparing to cover the show that's going to come out soon that we're so freaking excited about. And then next on our list, we're gonna cover some Nancy Drew. So that's kind of, we're taking a break from all the heavy stuff. We're going back to our fun childhood.
I'm here for that.
I need it.
It's healing.
Life.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll have a lot more like books and like mystery tale segments coming up now until like the whole strike is over. Just to, like help stand in like solidarity and stuff with the actors and writers and whatnot. Although I was telling Maddie earlier that I really need the strike to end by October. I have a lineup ready.
We need to do a Scream marathon.
They can't mess with my lineup. So they need to get in the room and like settle this because I can't.
We've literally had this lined up for a year and they're about to ruin it.
Yeah, like it makes no sense. And they're clearly seeing the effects of it because there was some article that I was reading where it was like, they're like, oh, we're losing money because the actors can't promote the shit. And it's like, well, then why don't you get in the negotiation room and fix this shit?
Yeah, you gotta spend money to make money, girl. Start paying them.
Period. Pay them what they're worth and what they're owed. But let our listeners know everywhere they can find y'all and all the things.
Yeah, so you can find us on Instagram and TikTok at TMTTS Podcast. You can email us at tmttspodcast@gmail.com. We're on YouTube also. There's More of the Story podcast. We don't have that much out yet, but we're in the process of getting like our full episodes so you can watch for, yeah, I know you guys do that too. I've seen some of your videos too. So this is so weird doing this on your, like, not ending my own show. It's very surreal.
We're really here because I open and end our show too.
But yeah, that's pretty much it. Thanks for having us.
Yeah,
Thank you guys so much for coming on. Like, this has been, it's been months in the making.
Yes. Your patience.
Yeah.
Thank you for reaching out to us also.
Oh my gosh,
us.
yeah.
So, really appreciate it.
Yeah,
But okay, guys,
thank
this
you.
has been another episode of She Well Read. We will be having guest interviews coming out every now and then. Just stick with us on social media. Y'all know I'm cool. This is a lot. It's a lot going on. But anywho, thank you for tuning into another episode of She Well Read. I'm Alana.
And I'm Samra.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.